What's going on, y'all? Nick here, coming to you with another video. I'm with a good brother of mine, James from Enter Black Void. What's going on, bro?
How you doing? How's everything?
Everything's going good, man. Everything's going good. I'm excited about this topic. We go way back. We used to play music with each other.
Me too.
Um, So the topic of discussion is 80's music is better than today's music. Prove me wrong. So I think what's interesting about it is that I was born in the 90's, but I was calling James to literally tell him that, hey, man, your era was far superior than mine. Because I was listening to some 80's music the other day and I'm realizing, like, yo, you guys had the best music by far. And we actually, oh, I see. Yeah, House of Lamar. I agree, actually.
Yeah, man.
um, yeah, man. I was listening to some 80's music and I was just like, damn, like the music was way better. And so, like, what's your take before we go in,
I
James?
think there's multiple factors why 80s music is so much better, right?
Right.
And we can do this in a historical sense. We can even talk about it on a phonically, sonically, what we listen to, right? Why it makes it so much better compared to today's music. We can even talk about the technology as well. You see, and we
Right.
can talk about the business aspect of why it made it why it was better back then, right?
Uh, so if we had to
So
just start somewhere, where you want to tackle it first? Why do you think 80's music is better than today's music? And also, for anybody coming in, please, if you guys disagree, respectfully, we would love to hear why you disagree. If you think the 90's music is better than the 80's, or if you think today's music, the 2000s, the 2010s, 2020s, if you think any of that is better than the 80's era, please let us know. Um, and also, let's also say this before you go in, James, right? Let's make it clear that we are talking about pop music, right? For the most part, we're
yeah,
not talking about classical music, which I think definitely had a great importance in how music was composed and things of that sort. So we're not just talking about just all of music altogether, but we're talking about like popular music, things that were being played on the radio stations and things of that sort. Um, we believe that 80's music definitely took the cake. But yeah, go ahead, bro.
so first let's talk about it sonically, what you hear, right? One,
Yeah,
if you're a true musician, you would realize sonically the music was much more full because you actually had musicians that actually knew what they were doing, right? And it's no knock to today's music, but when you're dealing with musicianship and people that actually construct music, orchestrate music, and it's not just a loop, it's not just it's not just a loop or a sample. It's not, and music back then they had bridges. So they were orchestrating the actual song itself into a composition. The song itself told a storyline on top of what the artist sung. And that's a very key component to music because music has to tell a story. This is why we have music theory, like major, minor, core, minor scales, major scales. Those things automatically convey a message, right? So this is
yeah.
one aspect of why it sounds better. What you think?
Well, before I go into what I think Hustle Lamar, he's like, I don't know about the 90's. I like the 90's music a lot. That's good. That's the whole point of the discussion. We could respectfully disagree, right? Um, so I'll say this before I chime into what you have to say, Hustle Lamar. What I think is that you're absolutely right. From obviously our background was music. You played the drums. I had played the piano with you many times in bands, but our band gigging days. So we as musicians, by far, the 80's music was so much better. And you kind of hit it on the nail, right? A lot of it now, the way the producers tackle music is, and I'm not saying that the producers don't have music theory. I think they do know music theory. A lot of them are extremely talented, but because for the sake of, I don't know whether it be for the time or maybe they're just going for different sounds altogether, they go more for an electronic sound, and therefore they have the loops, they have all this stuff. But there's something very powerful with acoustic instruments, right? Like there's something about the vibrations and how it actually hits you.
Yes.
We could go into the science of it. Obviously it's vibrations, right? There's some cultures out there that actually don't even like music because of that, because they know that it can actually alter your like the, what is it? Like your vibrations,
The
your
spirit,
this
yeah.
the spirit and all that stuff. Bass. Most of you guys, whether you guys understand music or not, right? But a lot of people can appreciate music, and you guys know whenever you hear that bass line, you hear that boom, boom, and it ought to literally, you can literally feel it, especially if you're close to an amp. You can literally feel the vibrations, right? So music is powerful, and I think the thing is when they stripped off, ironically, a lot of today's music, you see a lot of bass actually, right? Like they have the 808s and they hit you hard, and that's what you mostly hear in the clubs. They push EDM, they push bass and drums. Even the regular pop music, you have like a heavy bass in the trap songs. A lot
Yeah.
of it is minor in tonality
Yeah.
too. It
Right.
sounds dark, and we're gonna talk about that afterwards. But like the actual tone of the music being
Yes.
dark, it lends way to the messages within the music also being dark.
Precisely.
And so we'll probably show you, and let me see if I can even share my screen. But you can see, like, we have right here, um, this is a playlist, right? This is small 80s music hits. But we were talking about Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. And this is like a prime example where it's just like, even the message, right? Now, let's not try to paint it off like these people weren't talking about the same topics. They were. But the way they went about it, my apologies, the way they went about it was so poetic because, I want to dance with somebody. I want to feel the heat with somebody,
Right.
right? Let's keep it a bug. We know what she's trying to say, but
Yes.
it wasn't so overtly in your face. Like I just want to bend over and then pop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Give it up. Like she wasn't saying that. Though, even though the way she approached the topic
With
of,
somebody who loves me.
oh, that's key.
That's
That's key.
context. That's
That's key. Yeah.
context.
True. True.
Because
True.
now we're talking about. You see, the thing is, on if we're gonna go that route, we're talking about how music has degenerated because the culture itself, or the atmosphere, the society itself, is collapsing, is tanking. Right? Whenever you have the poetry, right? What beauty is the elevation of a culture in order to promote virtues, right? In a poetic
Mhm.
manner. It's not crude in a sense, right? So it's
Right.
the beauty is the elevation of the culture, right? To higher heights. So when you have poetry and music, you can talk about adult themed topics, but it's presented in a way that it makes people want to listen and think more as to what does it exactly mean. And children can listen to it and not understand the message behind it. They gain the message as they get older because now children are just listening, oh, I want to dance. Cool, that's innocent, that's safe. But the metaphor of dancing is the interaction between man and woman, right?
Yeah.
But now today there is less poetry involved. The
If I could,
message is so crude.
if I could interject, you heard this one. My P is pink. My B hole is brown.
Right, come on, like, come
What
on,
type
like,
of?
you see, so but you see the crudeness, how we have lost that poetry, that poeticness, that artistic not artistic integrity, but we lost like uh artistic creativity in a sense. You see?
Yeah. I agree because it's very base minded to just simply say that I just want to bend it over, right?
Right.
Or as if anybody didn't know what I was referencing, that's Sexy Red, right? I think Pound Town. It's listen to even the name Pound Town, right? So like she's saying her P, as in her area right there. Her P is pink and her B hole is brown. I mean, you can't. It doesn't get more crude than that, right? But what about the creative aspect of music where even if you wanted to tackle that topic, which I don't think anybody in the 80s did that, but even if you did, you could have probably said it in a way that was far more tasteful and
Precisely.
more classy. But
Yeah.
today, a lot of the artists, they don't care about class. They'll just straight up tell you that what they want. And for this generation, I guess maybe they like that. Because they're like, oh, they're not beating around the bush. But I think there is an aspect to it. Like again, you said it. It creates the degeneracy of the entire society as a whole, right?
Precisely.
But if
Because
if I may, go ahead,
Mhm.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, precisely because when you have lyrics, remember, words are powerful. Words is the only thing that can go through your body and penetrate your soul. They tickle your mind, right? They don't speak to your physique. They speak to your spiritual man, the words that you speak, life and death. Think about it. So when you singing, remember singing, I've heard this expression before. Singing is two times talking because you're
Right, right, right.
talking and you're doing it in a melodic way. It's special. So now you have music that conveys an emotion inside of you because of these vibrations. On top of that, these words are being heard subconsciously in your mind, right? Now, what happens is some people they feel have such an emotional connection with the song. It can either inspire them or it can bring them down to a level they don't want to be in, right? Like
Hey,
like R&B music. Many girls they during their heartbreak they listen to it and they feel even more sad. That's the
yeah,
power of music.
yeah. I could add to that. I remember when I was, when I was younger, I was doing like a summer school program, and what was it, Lil Uzi Vert? Lil Uzi,
Mhm. Yeah,
and he had a very popular song back in the day. Maybe you guys could chime in if you guys know about it, but it was the one that I don't really care if you die, right? And I'll be honest, y'all, to even show signs of my getting me getting older, right? Like I was listening to all the children listening to this in the summer camp, the whole entire summer, and I was bopping my head because I didn't know the lyrics. I didn't
right.
know what was being said. I was just like, okay, yeah, this is a pretty catchy tune. Like, okay, cool. And there was this one boy in particular, like he was the prototypical nerd, right? Glasses,
Hmm.
you name it, right? The way he dressed, he was a prototypical nerd. Loved the boy though, right? And the thing that was so crazy about it was that when that song, he was being mad chill. But when that song played, that little Uzi Vert played, he was literally like bopping his head very almost as if he was in one of those like
Mosh
what
pits.
yeah, mosh pits. He was bopping his head mad hard. So one day I was like, yo, let me look up the lyrics. And the whole song is about suicide, from what I'm understanding. And it's just like,
Yeah.
yo, this dude who, seemingly harmless child, he's getting so affected in his spirit that this dude is like dancing hard for songs that has to do with
Death.
suicide, death, exactly. And but I want to actually go back to House Lamar's comment because he said, I don't know about the 90s. I like the 90s music a lot. So that's fair, right? I wanted to show something for the audience. All right. We're gonna compare some of the titles here. All right. We got Tina Turner. What's love got to do with it? Right. And we got Whitney Houston. I want to dance with somebody. Right. We got Madonna, like a prayer. Let me see if we could go even further. We're gonna compare just some of the timeless tunes here, y'all.
In the air tonight, right?
In the air, right? We got Michael Jackson, Billie Jean,
Mm-hmm.
Phil Collins, like as you mentioned, In the Air Tonight, Total, Africa, another Michael Jackson hit, Beat It. All right, we're gonna go to
So another
I mean,
reason I would like to
hold
mention.
on, hold on, hold on. I just want to finish off because I just want to share the 80s music real quick, right? So let me see. Let me share my screen real quick. And I want you guys to see the 80s music. All right. So bear with me, y'all.
Just by thinking about it.
So this is back to the 90s. Where is the actual playlist itself though? So I actually don't see the, oh, I see. They did it within the actual, oh, okay. They did it that way. So it's not like a traditional playlist. They did it in a way where, so I guess let me look at this. Let me see what pops up.
I would say the '90s. What made the '90s stand out was it was dominated by hip hop and rock music, right?
Yeah,
Like we're talking about like rock music, like is it like grunge and rock music, like Nirvana's, the like old school rock music, right? Um, I would say those were the two biggest genres that was popular at the time during the '90s.
yeah. For some reason, top 90 songs, pop songs, and let's see the list because for some reason I'm not really seeing the list. Um,
And R&B,
so
R&B, I forgot R&B was good for the '90s as well. That's like the golden era of rapping, hip hop and R&B. Because
yeah,
we had Aaliyah come out during that time. Remember Brandy and Monica?
yeah. So this is something I'm seeing right now. I don't know if you guys can see my screen, but you have Viva La Vida Loca. That was huge back in
Yep,
the day. What is it by Puerto Rican singer Ricky Martin? Yeah, there you go. Genie in the
Genie.
Bottle.
Yep, Christina
That
Aguilera.
yeah, Christina Aguilera. That was huge. I do remember that.
Yeah,
The boy, yeah, that boy is mine. I think you mentioned it, right? Brandy.
yeah,
Yeah. So, but even me listening to this or getting jiggy with it. Okay, that was 90
yeah.
with
Will,
Will
Will
Smith.
Smith, Will Smith. Yeah, that album. Will Smith was on top of the world in the '90s. He had
Yeah,
Miami,
that's
getting
true.
jiggy with it. He had a lot of hits on during that time.
That's true. So I actually would like to know from you guys. And obviously I didn't read out all of them. Right, time would exhaust if I read all of the '90s music. But like just from the stuff I've read, like which one resonated with you all? Because what I didn't show you is the numbers. Like if I actually show you guys the numbers of some of these tunes, like if I show you, like matter of fact, let me actually do that real quick. If I
No, but
show
I
you
mean,
some of the numbers,
but we're talking about '80s versus today's music, right?
well, I
'80s.
well. I, 80s, I said 80s music is better than, yeah, I did
Today.
say today's music,
Yeah. So
but
if we're gonna do that, then we got to compare. We gotta articulate why '80s music was a lot better than today. Because many people would disagree, but we have to explain to them why '80s was a lot better. Because business wise as well, right? Today's music is like a cookie cutter factory. You have to produce and examine the time limit of the songs. This today's music is like maybe 2-3 minutes. It's in and
right.
out, right? It's repetitive. And '80s music had more dynamic. It had break beats. It had bridges. It had solos. It had more to offer. These songs were like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, right?
Right.
Because it told more of a story. It
The music videos told the actual story versus like they just jump right into it. And but you see that caters to even like the mindset of the generation today, right? With TikTok, how it's like very microwave generation. Like if
Right.
it's got to get your interest really fast, or else you're gonna lose these people, the crowd, right? Because they can't
Yes.
sit down and actually listen to this thing the whole way through anymore, right?
The attention span, because look at when people came out with albums. Like we actually physically bought the CDs and appreciated the CDs because they had booklets, right, with their lyrics. You read the lyrics and you want to learn the song with the artist, right? So the album was a whole conceptual art masterpiece. It was artwork. It wasn't just random songs, from different producers and they give you a piece, right? We're bombarded with so much music. It's hard to even appreciate the music today. That's another factor that makes 80s music a lot better because we had time to sit with them, right? We had time to learn the songs, and it was like an artist was huge back then in the 80s. Now you
Oh
have
yeah.
artists that are relatively big, some you don't even know about, but back then in the 80s you knew who the stars were.
And that was the point I was trying to get at, right? When I was listing some of the names, right? And that's no disrespect to Christina Aguilera because she was big time back then, but Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, like you name Madonna, like you naming people
Yeah.
who like I think it's very safe to say that these were like timeless individuals. Now, yes, I was using the 80s and there were some timeless individuals from that, but I'm sorry, from the 90s. But especially if we talk about today, then it's really a lot of them are like local. A lot of them they're
A
not
lot of them.
even transcending to the way it was before. Like I would say this, there was, obviously people should know, like Chris Brown, right?
Yep.
He was at one point in time, he was probably considered the closest thing to Michael Jackson. Like he had that Michael Jackson potential, and then he beat up on he beat up on Rihanna. And this dude, I mean, the women still love this cat, but I mean, who's the next Michael Jackson? Like this dude has come, and we have never seen another Michael Jackson potential individual.
Right.
And it's just like everything from we can even talk about performance wise too, right? The musicians back, the singers back then were truly performing. They danced and they were singing, like they
Mhm.
put on an actual performance for you. The closest thing I could think about is, Beyonce. She's been notorious for that. Like she
Yeah.
actually could dance and sing at the same time. So props to her. But who's really doing that now?
I will say this. I will say this. There are some stars that are big, perhaps on that level, or even close to that level, right?
Like,
I can make an argument that Beyonce is on that level. I can say
yeah,
Drake maybe possibly touch that level, right? Kendrick Lamar. These are like household names. They have Grammy winning awards, their music. But the thing is their music just as memorable as the 80s?
no.
I don't know. And it could be because we're born in that era, we experience that music, so we have a
Well,
certain
that's what
bias to us.
but that's why I
But
said I was born in the '90s, and
yes,
I don't. But go ahead.
no, but like the stars today, their star power today of these artists, could they compare to the star power of people in the 90s? Right? Like Drake, for instance, these celebrities have put out thousands, well, I want to say thousands, but their music is on Spotify, right? Being streamed right now. The 80s music is so powerful, people are still streaming it to this day. People are still referencing them to this day. People are still people still put them in movies, right? Um, because the thing is, not only is the music back then was a lot more full. It wasn't minimal, right? It wasn't, because if we're going back to Sonics again, and the reason why I said sonically, it's like a musician's dream back in those times, because we're talking about the 80s being influenced by funk. We're talking about being influenced by
Blues.
jazz, blues. Like they held the tradition of true musicianship.
Right.
These artists were so unique and set apart from each other. They all had their own style and their own flavor. This is what makes their star power so unique, and this is what made the music sound so full, and every song was its own story. Today's music, it sounds like everybody wants to sound the same. People don't want to be necessarily different. They want to copy a model that works in order for them to obtain money. This is another reason why 80s music is better, because it's not, you can make a case that the stars back in the 80s wanted finances, like finances fine, but the music was truly unique in that it was creative. It wasn't just let me try to copy the next person. Let me try to mimic or ride this wave in order for me to capitalize on money. Let me try, today's people are just like, let me do what's hot now. Back then it was just like, I want to create from my own volition in order to make my own style. And that's what made these
Yeah.
stars so unique.
We got Mario Mujica. Music from the 70s still hit today.
It
I
does.
agree. Now, Mario, I know you being an 80s baby, is like, what's your thought on the topic? Like, do you feel like 80s music is the best? Or do you feel like today's music is better? And in what regards? Shibu, shalom, shalom. I see that the only thing nice about today's music is the beat. I agree. I agree. Like that's the only thing that's dope about it. Like, that's why I mentioned the little Uzi Vert. Like, yeah, it could get me to bounce my head, but when you hear the lyrics, or if you actually understand the lyrics, rather, it's like, what the hell? Matter of fact, and I didn't even touch on some of these other artists, like the mumble rap writers, mumble rap
Yeah.
musicians, like what is it, Amigos and all that stuff. Like, I generally don't even know what the hell they saying. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. Shibu also said the words are provocative and have no meaning. Yeah. They have the formula now. I
Yes.
agree with Brick Bro. Yeah, going back to the formula, that's something that I think that I have to give to today's music, right? And I think it goes to the aspect of they got it down to a science. Like they have hit certain frequencies within the music today where they are ironically catchy,
Mhm.
but not because you actually like it. It's almost like they got it down to a science where they hit certain frequencies, right? They have just
Yeah.
the right amount of treble versus the bass. And when it hits you, you kind of just like, it will automatically cause you to bop your head, but it's not really timeless, if that makes sense. Like, I
Precisely.
don't, and that's why I was talking about like the natural instrumentation or the acoustic instruments. Like, there's something totally different than a drum machine versus an actual drum,
Yeah.
right? The way you approach it, um, it is just is there's something different when you have natural instrumentation as a whole. And again, I didn't go into the numbers, but like people could debate and say that, oh well, they have more time, so people are listening to it more. But if I showed you guys the numbers, we're talking about, I think Billie Jean has hit like in the billions, guys, of views. So, and mind you, that playlist was created 15 years ago. We're not even talking about before YouTube was a thing. Like,
Mhm.
like the music back then has hit. Like, if I show you any of those songs in that 80s list, you guys are gonna look at numbers like 300 something million, 500 something million. Like the numbers are outrageous. And this is what I mean
Astronomical.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, and this is why we listening to it even now. Like, who doesn't know? Dun, 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 dun. Like, that's a classic bass line that you can't even reference a bass line of that magnitude in today's music. Like, you have the Quincy Jones, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, some of these dudes, and also we have the Stevie Wonders. Well, he's a little bit, I guess he was in the 80s, but he was a little bit before. But some of the musicians, like, they were real legitimate musicians.
But this is what I'm saying. It's because, so going back to the producers, many producers, some producers today they took music theory and they can play. They understand. It's not even about music theory, right? It's being one with your instrument, right? Because I don't want to disrespect all the musicians out there that are extremely talented, but they don't know music theory, but they can still play.
Right.
It's being a musician is being one with your instrument in order to produce sound to get people dancing. What happened is, and this is probably, probably a negative side of technology. What it does is it reduces the skill level in order for you to compete. The problem is you do not have the knowledge in order to go any further and create beyond your understanding. It's almost like I can punch in numbers to add for me in a calculator, but I do not have the actual knowledge it takes. If you remove the calculator from me, will I still be able to perform math? It's the same with these producing, like, for instance, the Logics, the Pro Tools, the Fruity Loops. If you remove these DAWs, there we go, DAWs. If you remove these DAWs, if you remove these programming tools, can they play music?
That's big.
That's the
That's
thing,
big.
because now if you cannot play music, your music will sound the same. Another thing too, a musician is exposed to a variety of music. They can play almost any genre they want to. We're talking about Latin. We're talking about African. We're talking about Asian, right? Japanese, Chinese, Thailand. Musicians get inspirations from all over and they could play authentically. Today's producer, they may be influenced by other music, but they don't replicate it authentically. What they do is they take the samples of a certain
The
sound.
samples. Yeah, the
You see?
samples.
Like, for instance, we got Sade, right? Smooth Operator, right? Or let's take Smooth Operator, right? That sounds like a bossa nova beat, or like what's her other song? What's her other famous song, Sade? The Best of Me, Sweet Taboo. There we go, Sweetest Taboo, right?
Yeah.
That's bossa nova. That has a bossa nova feel. Automatically they tap it into Brazil, Afro-Brazilian music right there. That's so diverse. That's why I'm saying the creative level of these musicians back then, they could transport you to literal worlds and different countries. Today they don't do that. It's just like,
Nah.
okay, you referencing a Chinese sound, but all you're doing is slapping a hip hop beat on it. You didn't transport me to China. What you've done, you transport me to New York, Chinatown. You feel me? That's the difference.
Yeah. Hey, let me show you something real quick. Because Alan Ebri said, yeah, but this generation got way more chops and singers have more runs. Ain't it about the chops nowadays? And I would say, before you dive in, James, I would venture to say that, I remember going to school for music, right? Hunter College. And I fell into that trap. Like, I was playing the saxophone, and all I was thinking about was like being very virtuosic and like playing the craziest licks. And I do believe virtuosity has its place. Chops have its place. And singers, obviously they have the runs. It has its place. But to say that it's only about and knowing Alan and how he is, he likes to ask questions to kind of like just stimulate thought, right? But nah, I don't think you I'll put it this way. You could do a lot more with being simple and just being very expressive versus just the chops. The chops is more like a sprinkle on top, right? That's like the cherry on top. But to only go crazy with the chops or go crazy on the drums and not actually establish actual soul, or then nah, it's not gonna carry the tune.
You see,
And before you go in,
I had two things
uh,
to say to Alan.
yeah,
One, you don't get paid for chops. You get paid to play the song. That's one. You got to play to the song, right? So, two, chops is good. Chops is chops is wonderful. It's about freedom of expression, but chops only work for a specific type of genre called jazz, right? This is when you can freely express yourself, not in pop music. See, that's another thing too. A third aspect is singers today use auto tune. Cut it out. Cut it out. These singers back then, they didn't have auto tune. So they were naturally expressive singers that didn't have a boost in technology. They didn't hide their flaws back then, right? They didn't hide a miss note because they were actually trained singers that actually sang in key. So cut it out, right? That's what I'm saying
um,
about the musician level.
yeah, Angela neighbor, shalom, bro. Nick, is that your brother, blood? He sounds just like you. Yeah, we are actually blood brothers. That's a great observation, sister. Love the topic. LOL. Shibu, they do sound the same, Angela. Naturally talented. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They were naturally talented. Like, going back to, I think till this day, people regard Whitney Houston as the literal best singer. That's debatable because, again, right, when it comes to music, it's about preference. But I think by and large, Whitney Houston's voice was so wholesome.
So
It was so
warm,
wholesome. Yeah, very warm. And it's just
full,
like,
full. It wasn't tiny. It wasn't thin.
yeah.
It was full, right?
Yeah, no, she definitely had a tremendous voice. And again, that's not a knock to the people singing today, but you see that also goes to the training, right? Because when you're versatile and you're exposed to many different genres, you
Yeah,
have to learn all these different singing techniques. Versus, I think today, what sometimes people just fall on talent, dare I say, like they
yes,
will just, oh, my mommy and daddy said I could sing, so I'm just gonna, I'll just sing. But did they actually learn these different techniques, like the way these singers and musicians were pushed back in the day?
yeah.
I don't think so. I really don't.
So there's a thing, right? There's levels to singing, and I don't sing at all. But from my understanding, back then there was two major ways of becoming a great singer. Either you started off in the church, because the church really prepared you to sing, right? And when you come out from the church, you come out as a monster. Like you come out as you come out as your voice is so powerful because from coming from the church. A second way is if you actually took vocal lessons, right? This was another way to become artistic and become a musical giant, right? It may not have been expressive as the church, but the mere fact you could read music, you could read the notes and sing it, la 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 la, la reading the notes. That's a special thing. Today's people, their voices is pretty, right? They haven't necessarily they never actually strengthened and worked out their voice to see how far it can go, how far it can stretch, right?
Yeah,
It's pretty. It's not powerful, right? This is why when
yeah.
we compare these old singers back then, like you heard their voices and you like, I know that sound because automatically you get tuned to it. Everybody sounds the same today.
That's a big one. If I could chime in, like, yo, the musicians and the singers, right? They had such a distinct sound back in the 80s. Like you knew who was who. And again, I want to say that with a grain of salt, because maybe it could just be a lack of exposure on our part. But outside of one or two individuals, I can't necessarily pick out someone's voice today per se. because a lot of them really kind of sound the same. And I think this is what makes it bad too. A lot of them, their reference is the 80s. Like you will ask these dudes, even today's singers, and you ask them, yeah, who was your who inspired you, right? And they always referencing the people in the 80s. So it's just like, okay, so y'all kind of almost agreeing, right, that the 80s music was the best, right? Like what is it new that you're bringing to the table?
Precisely.
And that's not to say that you can't reference people, right? Obviously, we all got to grow, we got to learn from somewhere. But I'm just talking about like, what is it that you bring that's new to the table? And I can't necessarily say that a singer today, like let's say Bruno Mars, and I think Bruno Mars is actually pretty talented. I actually think his the musicians he have around him are
Yes.
very talented, very talented.
Yes.
But what is it that's new? His gimmick, believe it or not, from my understanding, is that he would bring some of the musical genres from back in the day, and he's bringing it in today's context. That's his gimmick. So again, he's not bringing nothing new.
No.
You know what I'm saying? The dudes
We've
in
been there and heard that, and it's nice to hear. Don't get me wrong, but
this guy.
kind of like
Kind of like Bron versus MJ. Yeah, Bron is like a hybrid, but MJ got all around best natural game. Hey, I'm gonna let that comment slide. That's a different talk for another day. Everybody sounds the same. That's real talk. Yeah, that's a fact.
yeah.
So there's a difference between naturally gifted and learned. Just saying. No, that's straight up. That's straight up. And you know, it works. I think this is the thing, right? There's nothing wrong with being naturally gifted. I actually think a lot of the singers back in the day were naturally gifted. I think what it is the merging of taking your natural talent and then pushing it further by learning.
Yes.
Versus today, where I think they just kind of rest on their laurels, which is like, I'm just naturally gifted and I'm not gonna actually pursue the art of my craft, right? I'm not gonna elevate it by learning.
This is
right?
what separates LeBron James from everybody else. He wasn't just naturally gifted, he was also a student.
Yeah.
This is what separates him from everybody else, and his longevity, right? It's the same with these musicians back then. They told you, you know, they can reference their favorite artists. They were not able to just copy and mimic, but they was able to transcend and find their own voice. And that's another thing too. Remember when we took music lessons, right?
Right.
We learned the greats not to mimic them.
No.
We learned the greats to understand what they did so we can try to find our own voice. You see?
That's key.
Because remember, like there was a time when we went to Dernce's house, right? For those of you who don't know, Dernce is like a music teacher. He said, if you're gonna copy somebody, then you're just gonna sound like Charlie Parker. You're gonna sound like John Coltrane. You're gonna sound like them. But who are you? Who are you? It's okay to learn from Whitney Houston, Beyonce, Jay-Z. It's okay to learn from them. But it's also imperative for you to break through and find your own voice, to carve your own path so you can stick out. So that way you can push music forward. You see, or else music will never elevate.
No,
we're gonna stay in
stagnation. And I think that's what we experiencing now. We have reached a point where there is no more elevation in the music. And the irony is, it's not only from a creative aspect, but it's permeated to a spiritual aspect. Like the stagnation is in the lyrics. It's in the culture. Yeah. Like there's no growth. Like you can look at the music, like say the music videos, right? And the smiling in the face, like we reference want to dance with somebody, right? With the Whitney Houston. And even though we talked about the actual, matter of fact, let me see if I can actually play it without sound so that you guys can actually see what I'm talking about, right? Like if I was to share the screen, and I'm gonna play it real quick, but again with no sound, so that you guys can see what I'm talking about, right? Can you guys see my screen, by the way?
Yeah,
you guys can see it, right? And this is what's so amazing about it, right? Like, I want to dance with somebody. Obviously, I want to feel the heat with somebody. So yeah, we could actually, ascertain that she was talking about being intimate with someone, right?
Right.
But look at what's on the screen. On the other hand, there's no twerking. There is none of that debauchery. What you're gonna witness is literally, look at the dancing, right? Like, this is there's nothing remotely, sexual about this at all, right? And
Right.
so even from what you're seeing a culture that bred into society where people were just like actually happy. Back in the day, look at the guy dancing, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, even
Mm.
from the, and I don't necessarily go to the clubs per se, but let me pause this real quick. I don't go to the clubs per se, but you can hear all the time, like when they went to these dance clubs, people were actually dancing. There's so many. You guys could do the research. I can't show it to you right now, but listen to some of the people today, and they'll explain what the dance clubs look like. You'll see all the people in the 40s and 50s, they dancing, and all the young people are on the wall on their phone. So it
Yeah.
just shows you what's taking place in their mind. It's like, it's almost like you too cool for school type of mentality. Like, I gotta be jaded. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? But if they bring some, heavy bass, music, and they start talking about twerking now, then all the young people are gonna come in, and that's all they know how to do. That's literally all they know how to do. Everything is catered towards the sex.
But this,
Um,
but this is what I want to say too. This is why I said, and I forget who said this. I think it, and somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but music, right? You can tell the state of society based on the music that they listen to, right? Now, earlier I said that civilization, the way it's headed, and what the definition of beauty, as according to civilization, is beauty is meant to elevate the people. The artistic creativity is supposed to elevate the people into understanding virtues for perceiving spirituals, understanding, right? But when you take this artistic gift that the creator has given us and you degenerate it, what happens is it brings the people lower. And you mentioned it, a frequency. Their frequency is lower, it's not higher. So, this is why people want, when they listen to music, when they're in that atmosphere, when they're taking in the sonics, it brings them into a state of mind of that, of what's going on, of the current culture. And it is somewhat debauchery, right? This is why they don't necessarily push themselves to a higher level, because everything is just about, okay, pleasure. Let's go pop bottles. Why not dance, right? Why are you on the wall, like you mentioned? And Cool, I believe Cool and the Gang mentioned that. Get your backs up off the wall.
yeah,
Dance.
yeah,
Come on. Get down on it. Doom, doom, doom.
right,
Get
right.
down on it.
They actually wanted people to dance. Yeah.
Music and dance is like brothers and sister. It's like husband and wife. How
Hey,
could you, how could you disrespect that? Now it's completely divorced. Think
you
about
know,
what I just said. Music and dance is like husband and wife, but now it's completely divorced. Look at the state of the current generation today and the marriage rates.
yeah.
Is
Mm.
the That means music has been divorced from what it's supposed to do. The lyrics is divorced from what the elevation of the people.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I actually want to show you guys something too, right? Like, because we can even transition to gospel music, and like let's even take this, right? Like how gospel music was very uplifting back in the day, and then look at Kevin Hart on roasting Kirk Franklin at the BET Awards. Like, check out what he had to say. Let me see if I. if it would actually play.
Oh yeah, I remember
Front
this.
twerking. Kurt Franklin is in the building. Kurt, do me a favor when you get your award tonight. Don't come up here front twerking, okay? Yeah, don't come up here popping. Jesus, I know. Don't do it. Don't do it, Kurt. Don't do it. That's what Kurt be doing. He be trying to blame it on the Lord. The Lord didn't ask for that. Put it away, Kurt. Put it away. Kurt Franklin.
Right? And the thing, and the reason why I showed that is because even that, right? Like, and mind you, Kirk Franklin, he started off on fire. Like, he was very. I still think he had an anointing to some degree. He's very powerful when it came to composing music. He was big time. But even he, I think, to cater to this generation, you could see how he started wearing tighter clothes. It leaned more towards debauchery, and then that's why Kevin Hart is roasting him. We're seeing that even so I'm saying even within the realm of gospel music, that is not really elevating the people no more. Like now, from the dress, from the lyrics, like there's nothing that's really uplifting the people. It's always catering to this low bass, like low hanging fruit mentality. Like I think honestly, I think this is what's also crazy, right? I think every generation can make the argument that the latter generation was getting worse. I think that's the irony, right? Like maybe people who were born in the 60s could probably look at the 80s and be like, yeah, man, the 80s is not the same. And it's kind of like we come across as like the old grumpy, adults,
Yes,
the haters, right? But there's a reality that the music is just, it's getting worse. It's waxing worse and worse.
Yeah.
You have
I mean,
a comment.
it's easy to call us haters and we don't know what we're talking about, but it won't hit you until you reach a certain age, right? It won't hit you until you reach a certain age. And when you look around you and you're trying to change civilization, so to speak, you want better for your country, you want better for your people, you want better for your nation, right? And you realize things don't get better, things get worse. You realize this. What used to be shunned upon back then is now normalized today, right? And this is how you can tell standards have shifted, right? Standards are more broader, it's more loose, it's more sand, it's no longer concrete any longer, right? And this is how you can tell how things are going on a downward slope, because when you accept everything, you have nothing, right? When you maintain standards, now people can strive and meet those standards and work towards those standards. Now you build the muscle to earn those steps to meet the standard, because there's a goal, there's a level there. But without that, anything goes. And we had a standard, right? Even musical standard has dropped a bit. You see?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I go any further, we've been 50 plus minutes in. If you guys are liking the video, please hit the like button, subscribe. Also, the link to James' channel, Enter Black Void, it is in the description. So please, show some love and subscribe to his channel as well. But no, you're right. There was a standard back then. And I think the more we get away from the standard and we just allow anything to come through, right, then it's gonna just lower, I guess, the expectation. Because like I'll say even this, right? Like even the black homes, right? The black family, and how that was even promoted through the music, right? Like everything was about like actually being together, love, joining together. Now the music today promotes that single lifestyle where like, oh,
I
I'm
don't
gonna
want
live my
this
life.
girl.
Yeah, I don't want this girl.
Man.
Yeah,
I'm independent. We don't need women no more. We don't need men no more. We don't.
Yeah, it's always men versus women. Is this constant battle, and it's weird. It gives off a very elementary, low base mind. And again, that I mentioned black for a reason because, admittedly, I'm not really exposed as much to country, although I do enjoy it at times. But I do not believe that that's promoted, like the division of us as a people. Black music in particular, I mean, it's highly promoted. It's very promoted. And,
now,
nowadays, right, exactly. Nowadays.
because back then, I could tell you, even in the 90s, when I said 90s is like one of the golden eras of R&B, you still had Boys to Men. They sung about treating women correctly. You had who else?
NSYNC.
NSYNC. Well, no, not in terms of R&B, we had Tyrese.
R&B in particular.
We had Genuine. We had Boys to Men. We had 112. They respected women, right? You maybe few songs here and there. They probably talked about being a player, being a dog, but the majority of the message was about love, was about unity, right? Jagged Edge, wifey, right? So, but now today is just like, hold up, where's that love exactly? Huh?
The love is getting in those pants. That's the love. Sex is equated to love today. They don't even know how to build families. They don't know how to build as a people. That's what I'm saying. And all of this is amazing that we can ascertain all of this through just talking about music alone. But that's because music is cultural. That's the biggest part of it, right? Music is cultural. So it affects it literally affects every fabric of society. So you kind of said, I think earlier on, right? Like you could tell a people and their mindset based off the music. And we're not even going into like the politics of music and how there's certain groups of people, which I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about, that have literally infiltrated the music industry, and they purposely tell our people that this is the type of music they want us to promote, right? So they know because again, the black family, especially in the 80s, I think they were one of the strongest families. Right. It was one of the strongest family, and now with the divorce rate being so high, well, it's no wonder because again, they tell us let's be pinned off against each other through the music, through the videos, through everything that you see. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, this may not be the 80s, right? But I want people to listen to the actual content. When you listen to Luther Vandross, right?
Oh, yeah.
Listen to the way he speaks about love and romance. Listen to, Barry White. Listen to Marvin Gaye. I want you the right way. I want you, but I want you to want me too. It's not just
Luther Vandross is the 80s, yep.
Yeah, Luther Vandross is the 80s, but Marvin Gaye, I Want You the song, right? Just listen to the lyrical content. It was the man actually wanted to pursue the woman today. I mean, not back then. They wanted to pursue her because we held women at a high regard, and women held men to a higher standard as well. It was a playful cat and mouse game where it's just like, I want to say cat and mouse. I want to say that. But it was a playful game where it was give and take, where it was reciprocal. And that's what love is reciprocity. It's reciprocity, right? But we're missing that today because the lyrical content, it doesn't uplift the women. It doesn't uplift the men either. I tell you that. It doesn't do that so it's just like, so now we're wondering why the divorce rates are plummeting. I'm not singling out music as the sole cause, but it's a contributing factor. You see, what happened to this idea of love, of romance, of togetherhood, of togetherness, right? Versus what's going on today. The music is a reflection of the culture, and the culture is a reflection of the music. It's a feedback loop, constant. And this is what people don't understand. Everything that we do as a people contributes to the culture, and then vice versa. The culture feeds back into the people themselves as a feedback loop. There is no other way that this happens. There's like, you can't just say this is part of the culture and think the music doesn't affect you. That's impossible. And you can't just say, oh, music is devoid of the culture. That's insane. The thinking is insane.
Well, I think everything you said was well said. And we literally heading into the hour mark. I honestly didn't expect this conversation to be that expansive, but I mean, it is. I guess it goes to show you how much there is to discuss concerning music. But for the sake of time, once again, you guys, if you guys like what you heard, please like, subscribe, comment down below, do all that YouTube stuff. It does help the channel out. Again, 80s music is better than today's music. Prove me wrong. And it seemed like almost everybody unanimously in the chat agreed, you know. So hey, I guess it just proves 80 music is better, right? Or I guess in the spirit of things, you know, the music of yesteryear was better than today's music, right?
And then another thing too, we didn't even scratch the surface on music theory. Because you mentioned briefly the minor chords for today's music, but back then these music was going in and out, major and minor, and this is why the tonality and the sound wasn't so dark. But that's a different discussion.
Yeah. But yeah, you guys, no, that is a deeper discussion. But if you guys like this video, again, just please support however way you can. Also support James and his channel. Again, it's Enter Black Void. It is in the comment section, the description, excuse me. The link is there, so you can, you know, support his channel. And you know, if you please let us know if you guys like topics like this. You know, I want to try to change things up, talk about, you know, things that just affect us in just in different ways, in all aspects of our lives, politics, you know, relationships, music, like today, you name it. So if you guys like this type of stuff, you know, please let us know. You could do me one last favor before I head out. I thank all of you who actually commented on the comment section for the live. If you can, please, even if it's a brief comment on the actual comment section of the video, that really helps out, all right? Just to give YouTube that positive signal to bring it forth, send it forth to other people. But you guys, we definitely appreciate your time. You got one last thing before we head out?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me. It was a good conversation. Maybe we could do a part 2 with somebody that disagrees with us. But no, I really enjoyed my time here, and I thank you for inviting me. If you want to follow me, like Nick said, it's Enter Black Void at YouTube. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, y'all. With that being said, Nick and James over and out. The message sent. Jesus is King, y'all. Shalom, shalom.
Peace.